Welcome to Rock Cellar TV. My name is Lori Reamer. We are on location today. What a fabulous show we have. Today in studio is Chris Carter of Breakfast with the Beatles, and we are just really excited to be in his museum. Hi, Chris.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm still digesting everything that I'm seeing, and studio audience, you're going to get a little tour later as we get into the interview. So this is the 40th anniversary of Breakfast with the Beatles.
Yes, it is.
That
Started
is
in 1983.
Incredible. What a milestone.
O'Donoghue.
So before you got started with doing this show, what were you doing before?
Sleeping. And now I haven't slept since because I do 8 shows a week. I was in a rock and roll band called Dramarama for
Oh my
many
goodness,
years.
I didn't know.
And then after the band broke up, I made a movie about Rodney Bingenheimer called The Mayor of the Sunset Strip, and I managed a couple of bands as well, one called the Wondermints, who went on to become Brian Wilson's backing band. So yeah, that's what I did
Wow, that's
before
wild.
Breakfast with the Beatles.
So how did you get started with this? It was in existence before you took it over, correct?
It was started by Deirdre O'Donoghue back in 1983, and sadly Deirdre passed away while she was doing the show. And I remember listening to that show, as a matter of fact, and there was no DJ, and I'm like, what's going on? Where's Deirdre? Maybe she's sick or something. But unfortunately she passed away. And after that they had a bit of a contest to see who would be the next host, and that ran through the summer of that year, and at the end of the summer I won the contest. So
Which year was that? Do you remember?
I've been there for 22 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Incredible. Now, you're not from here. I'm not from here either. I'm from New York, and you are?
I am from the Garden State of America, New Jersey.
Well,
yes,
we were
but
neighbors.
I've been out here for longer than I lived in New Jersey.
Yes. Yes, I know the feeling. Well, cool. So this has turned into a full-time thing for you. I know that there's shows almost every day, if not every day, in SiriusXM, and live shows on location. Tell everybody where they can hear and see you.
Well, it started out just on Sundays here in Los Angeles, and then they started something called the Beatles channel on SiriusXM radio. So I was asked to be the morning man Monday through Friday, so I immediately said yes.
Of course.
Without really realizing that I would never be able to go on vacation again. And not only do I do that Monday through Fridays, on Saturday and Sundays I do a show called Chris Carter's British Invasion, which is in Little Steven's underground garage, SiriusXM channel 21, just a couple of doors down from SiriusXM 18, the Beatles channel. And that's 4 hours of just British rock and roll. So it's the Beatles, the Kinks, and David Bowie and T-Rex,
right,
and Oasis, and spanning the years. We kind of break it down as 60% from the 60s and the other 40% all the other years.
What you feel like playing.
Yeah, exactly. And then I do the live show Sunday mornings.
I have heard it.
95.5 KLOS. So yeah, 8 shows a week.
And by live, meaning live audience as well.
Yeah,
There's
we
a
do
lot
it
of
live.
interaction. I love it.
3 times a month
giveaways
now.
and-
It started just once a month at the Kobe Steakhouse in Seal Beach, and now we do the Hard Rock every month, and we just signed up for another year of that, so that's cool.
Right.
And we do Morongo Casino Resort and Spa as well, which is great because they give you billboards, and who doesn't want a billboard?
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the show itself. So you've obviously interviewed some amazing guests and have some amazing stories to tell.
Yeah,
Anything you want to share?
We've been pretty lucky. All the Beatles that are left have been on the show. Ringo probably the most. He's great. He just called in a couple of weeks ago, and Paul's been on a bunch of times. They need you when their records come out.
They do
even
like
though
to
they're
do that,
still,
though.
gods. They still have to promote the record when it comes out. And I was fortunate enough to do an interview with George Harrison and Pete Best. So, 4 Beatles, not John, but that's pretty good. And, we get a lot of their friends and family members. Julian Lennon's been on, Danny Harrison, we've had Yoko Ono, and, everybody else. So it's a lot of fun.
Really cool.
Yeah.
So just curious, like with all the guests and all the stories that you've heard, were there stories that you never heard that somebody told you?
Oh yeah, I have some great stories I can't tell anybody.
Wait, but wasn't it on air?
No. I have about 3 great Beatles stories that I can't say.
You were sworn to secrecy?
Well, until certain people pass away, I guess. Yeah. And then maybe I'd have to still think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love you to talk a little bit about where we are right now, and
Sherman
we can
Oaks,
maybe
California.
Swivel the camera around.
The
And...
garden spot of Southern California. Sure, I'll show you around. I can show you some stuff if you'd like to see.
And when did this start, and how, and has it been since your childhood accumulating like
I used to own a record
memorabilia?
store. I used to own a record store in Wayne, New Jersey called Looney Tunes Records. So I kind of, started there with buying stuff and buying records. And there's one record called All Things Must Pass by George Harrison that I bought when I was 11. And from then to today, I still buy copies of it. And I think I may have the world's largest All Things Must Pass collection here. I have them from every country, and even a crate. Did you see the crate that came?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
And things continue to come in here.
And I got lucky to work on the 30th anniversary of that album, and I got that platinum record, which is probably my favorite thing in the world. And my friends were like, "You like that album so much that you wished your way into working on it." I worked on the record's re-release before I hosted Breakfast with the Beatles, because they just heard I was like a All Things Must Pass geek, and they said, "Could you help us?" So I designed the 45 picture sleeve for My Sweet Lord 2000 that they used as a TV promotion, and that's why they gave me that, because they sold a whole bunch of records because of it.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Any other specific things that you might want to
show,
my dog,
point
out? Oh, the dog,
Roxy,
absolutely.
Right there.
Everybody must have a studio
big Beatles
dog.
fan. Well, this isn't really anything to do with music, but it's definitely cool. This is my Schwinn Gray Ghost, 1971. It was the only year the Gray Ghost was made. There was, other versions of this bike, but they had the lemon peeler and, the orange crate. But this one is the cool one. I mean, come on, look, it's got shocks and everything, and it still works.
We should probably point out my seat too, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, if you saw Elvis's comeback special in 1968, these were the chairs that they sat on. Now, we don't know if Elvis actually sat on that chair, but there's a good chance that your butt and Elvis's have shared the same space, which is pretty cool. What else? Well, gosh, we got pictures of,
any albums, like
Ringo
album
and
covers
Paul
that somebody never saw?
Sure.
Perhaps?
Let's see. Did you ever see that Magical Mystery Tour album cover? Maybe not. How about this Cat Stevens album? You never saw this because it never came out. Cameron Crowe made this because he liked this movie so much. There was no soundtrack, so he made his own soundtrack.
Incredible.
How cool is that? Yeah, see, look, you never saw that live piece in Toronto with a red apple and that lettering. Nope. Alice Cooper Killer with white letters. Never saw that. See, you asked. Look, Ram. You ever see Ram with like that? Red? Nope, like that. Look, there's more things you've never seen.
This was just like a re-release or a first
These
draft
are just,
or something?
It's just funny you asked that, because this is all I have here is album covers.
Yeah.
So there's Rubber Soul with a Michelle sticker, and look, different pictures in the back. It's a trick album.
Really
though.
Incredible.
Yeah. There you go. You asked, and I delivered.
I did.
Just right on the spot.
I knew you'd
like
have some
that.
interesting, interesting little tidbits here.
Oh, there's more things I could show you. Let's see. What's interesting? Well, let's go over here. This is something that I love, and this is reel-to-reel tapes, right? Okay, so whatever your favorite album in life is, say it's Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. The reel-to-reel tape of Pet Sounds sounds really great.
Now, some
Even
of our
though it's
subscribers
in
might not know
duophonic.
what reel-to-reel means.
Reel-to-reel, okay. So there were 8 tracks, but there were also something called 4 tracks. You remember 4 tracks?
I do.
So this is a 4 track, not an 8 track of the McCartney album. See, there's a big hole in the back of the 4 track, not on the 8 track. And then there were reel-to-reel tapes, which is, just what it sounds like. It's a reel-to-reel tape. And what was cool was when they made the reel-to-reel tapes, they used to make them from the original masters. And when you bought an album, say you bought Abbey Road in 1969, right? They made millions of them because it was the Beatles. So, there were pressing plants all over making cassettes and 8-track tapes, and right? But they only made 10,000 reel-to-reels. So they made them from the original master one time only. So that's why if you play this versus the CD or the vinyl or certainly the cassette or 8-track, these always sound better.
Of course.
And then these are British reel-to-reel tapes for the extra geek that you might know. The deeper, so they're smaller. So there's like a American reel-to-reel and a British reel-to-reel, both with Klaus Vormann autographs. Look, who made the original artwork, and then he drew on my reel-to-reels, which is cool. And who's this autograph by? I don't know. Oh, Alan Parsons and Jeff Emmerich. There you go. When you get autographs and you give people reel-to-reels, they freak out because they're used to signing albums, right? So you give Neil Young a Harvest reel-to-reel, and their eyes go like they don't want to give it back.
Of course.
Here's a bunch of all things must pass things. I'll show you the super rarest right here. This is the 3D All Things Must Pass color cover. You'd be hard pressed to find one of these anywhere. Go on eBay and type that in. Say, you think you can get everything on eBay? See if you can find that. Okay. More All Things Must Pass things. See down here, I'll show you how crazy I am with the All Things Must Pass, right? So, whatever country I can find this album in, I get it. So, here's all completely different pressings from different countries with different stickers. This is a big thick one. Blue sticker, other blue sticker. Bangladesh, that's where it's from. Yeah, crazy. All Things Must Pass. I love it.
Really incredible stuff.
Yeah, Batmobiles, Monkeys. Love the Monkeys, of course. Beatles, Monkeys, and Stones. Those are the 3, and Bowie. Those are the... Yeah. Bowie's right up there with the Beatles.
Oh,
with
yeah.
me. They're kind of tied. Beatles for the 60s, Bowie for the 70s. And then a bumper pool table, which is not a real big West Coast thing. It's an East Coast thing. You don't find a lot of these out here. But I had to have it. And then the Faces, by the way. I love the Faces. Rod and the Faces. They're right up there with the Stones with music. Faces got their own section as well. And then there's Schools Out, which was, they always say whenever, whatever you liked when you're 12 or 13 or 14 musically, like that will be your favorites throughout the rest of your life, because that's when you're the most impressionable. Before you get your car, before you start really dating, all you had were those records, albums and music. And Schools Out was that thing for me. Like I was just 12 and a half, 13 in the summer.
With the panties, I might add.
Yeah, so I just like my whole life I buy all this weird Schools Out stuff just so I could be 12 and a half again. So there you go.
We all have that child in us, right?
Yeah, it's, Oh, and then you got James Bond stuff up here. All up there is Bond, and then you got a Mott the Hoople section. I love Mott the Hoople. And guitars, toys are up there. Got a Man from U.N.C.L.E. game. Gotta love that.
Okay, so now the target question here.
Okay.
What was your first concert?
My first concert, well, it wasn't anything you might want to write home about. It was Susie Quatro and Uriah Heep at the Capitol Theater in Passaic, New Jersey, and I didn't go for Uriah Heep. I went for Susie Quatro because I had that first Susie Quatro album in '73, and I loved it. And I saw she was going to be in Passaic, which was like right close by Wayne. So, yeah, That was it. I was 13.
Yeah,
and
your
that
parents
was
let
like,
you go, right?
Yeah, that was like a big deal, you know? Everybody's like, oh, you waited till you're 73. Yeah, I waited till I was 73. I was 13. You know, I had to get a ride. You had to go with a guy who was
you get
17.
dropped off.
And I went in that bathroom at this famous bathroom at the Capitol Theater in Passaic. It just smelled like Mexican weed. Just that certain, you know, that brown weed, you know, that certain smell. None of that green. It was like that certain smell and that stayed with me forever. I couldn't believe it. It's like every person at the Capitol Theater smoked pot. It's like every single person smoked pot here. This is incredible. And I had no real experience with that before. So it was a big night for me.
Yeah, my first big concert was Elton John at the Nassau Coliseum.
Nassau Coliseum.
Yeah, and, you know, it was just such a thrill.
So
you know, I was young, and when
that was a rowdy place, the Nassau Coliseum.
Yeah, it was a good place. My mom said I was like some shade of green when I came home. It's like, you know, party on. Really funny.
Yeah.
So I wanted to recall, you know, probably the last time that we saw each other was a few years ago. We did.
Oh, at the Coach House.
Yeah, at the Coach House. We did a live stream. Which
with Lawrence Juber,
the
guest who has been on Breakfast with the Beatles the
most, I'm sure.
And he's like Tony Randall was on The Tonight Show when they could, like, somebody would cancel and like Tony Randall, sure I'll come on, Johnny. Well, I'll tell you a couple of stories. He was great. Yeah, so Lawrence, you know, he lives right around the corner, and he's always got stuff going on too, and he's just so great.
Yes.
You know? I love to watch him.
So we had come up with the idea for the concert because of sort of this campaign that we decided to do with Rock Cellar magazine, which was we were all locked down, you know, nobody was going out to see live music, and suddenly Kevin Wax, our, you know, publisher of the magazine, was like, okay, we're going to do a contest, and we're going to find out, we'll have some of the subscribers write in and send in their favorite top 5 of all time favorite Beatles songs. And so we did this contest over a couple weeks, and we got it down. We picked the winners. Meanwhile, we were planning this concert, which you so kindly hosted and brought some of this memorabilia into like your own little booth. And we did a multi-camera stream with Alert the Globe, which was really cool. And you guys can still see that on our YouTube. It was the top 50 all-time favorites by Rock Cellar magazine. And it was in... it
was right at the end of
2020.
COVID.
When they had opened up. We had no audience, by the way, except for us.
Right.
You
it
know,
was still a little
except
COVID.
for the crew.
Right.
And we performed half of the 50. Right?
Yeah.
And you gave the factoids about the other half.
That was fun.
That was pretty fun.
And by the way, I love Rock Cellar. I get all my music news. I get the email. And like I really do. Like I find out like albums that are coming out or a story or something I didn't know. It's great. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks for putting me on the mailing list.
RockCellarMagazine.com. So, well, we all know that earlier this month the Beatles released the anticipated last Beatles song, Now and Then. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think it's just fantastic. And you know, you got to remember, I don't think John Lennon, when he wrote that song, thought of it as a single. Mm-hmm. See, that's the whole thing. They're treating it like it was a single. If that was just an album track, you know, fourth song on side one, it would be. It's fantastic. It's as good as, you know, Cry Baby Cry or I'm Only Sleeping or Sexy Sadie or some John Lennon song. It's not a hit single, you know, which is what yet number one. In England
well, because it's the only one, so.
Yeah, but it didn't have to be number one, you know. And then it entered at 7 here in the USA because that Taylor Swift. I looked at the top 10 last week, and she had 8 out of the 10 songs in the top. I thought I was looking at the stream. I go, this isn't the right chart. This is the streaming chart, and it's the Hot 100 singles charts. She had 8 out of the 10. I mean, people flipped out when the Beatles had the top 5 in, you know, April of '64, but this was 8 out of 10. And then in the top 20, there was another 4 or 5 songs. So the poor Beatles, you know, it's like a tough move to get up to number 1 these days with that Taylor
Absolutely.
Swift. But I heard she's getting traded to the Jets, so we don't have to worry. Okay.
But
I don't even know what that means, but it just sounds kind of fun.
Right?
Yeah.
It's been interesting, though, like, usually the lead up to any station, when they play the song, that radio host has, a different take on, leading whatever
Right.
story they want to tell about.
I got
it.
to premiere it on the Beatles channel because when you
course.
do Friday mornings, all the records come
That's
out
right,
on
all
Friday
releases.
morning. So I always know, like same with the red and the blue. I get to, and then I got to toss it over to Paul to do a little interview, like not interview with me, but he just set up the song. So
Nice.
I didn't have to think of a good introduction because I was like, I've been thinking all night what to say about this, but here, we'll let this guy
you
tell
could
you.
say
And
the
then
best.
Paul does it, and it's like his thing was like, this is the new Beatles thing, and if you don't like it, well, too bad. I think that's how he said when he ended it. So,
Yeah, it was a long time coming, and it seemed as though, like, the behind the scenes knew because Yoko had given the track, and
yeah, well, it was one of the
rippable
one of the three, that they had done, and they worked on it now and then with George, and they just didn't, like it. George didn't like it. George was the one that didn't like it. And then,
but then technology didn't really allow the separation of the
yeah, so then they could do that, and they took out a whole middle part that John had in there, which is kind of interesting.
Hopefully he's okay with that.
Yeah, but they'll find out one day. John will say, "Hey, you took out that bridge, and now and then I'll get you."
You thought I wouldn't know.
Yeah, you'll get you. Your day will come.
So you mentioned Ringo sent you a message.
Oh yeah, a little 40th anniversary thing on my phone. Here, I could show it to you. I think
Sweet.
it's it's great. They're those guys. The reason that they're still around doing everything is because they're really good at it, and they really like what they do.
They love
Paul
it,
and
yeah.
Ringo don't have to go out and play concerts.
But they love to.
But they like it. It's their whole life. They really enjoy what they do, and we're all the better for it.
Absolutely, and the fans are always there,
And
ready to soak it up.
Ringo, I think Ringo sings better now.
I kind of think so too.
His singing improves over the years. It's like he's really.
Yes. Are you crazy? I want to thank you for putting all that work in for us. Was he there for you? Time you moved on. Just having fun at your expense. Thanks a lot, Chris, and have a great one.
Nope, somebody's calling.
Somebody's sending me a text, right? And Ringo's talking.
Peace and love. So getting back to the anniversary of your show.
Yeah, 40 years the show's been over.
I'm sure there's been like a lot of celebratory things happening throughout the year. There's just a couple of months, not even a couple of months left. Anything coming up that you want to shout out about?
Well, I think we'll have like a little party at the Hard Rock when we're there next.
That'd be fun.
Check your local
when?
listings.
What's the date?
I gotta look at the thing here and tell you because this is,
because where would we be without our phone calendars, right?
It's gotta be factual, right? You don't want the wrong information. I'll just pull it up. Hold on, here it is. Nope. Let's do that again. Take two. Here it is. December 3rd, 2023 at the Hard Rock in Hollywood.
All right.
Yeah, we'll have a little party. Come and join us. Tickets available at ticketweb.com.
Very cool. And anything else that's going to happen before the end of the year that
Well, hopefully
the
my
fans
dog
know?
will stay with us.
Yeah.
You all right, Rox?
Oh, she's such a
Aw.
cutie.
She's, 14. She's getting up there.
Yeah.
As we all are.
That's real.
All right, guys. Well, this interview wouldn't be complete if I didn't ask Chris, what is
Don't
your
ask me my
favorite
favorite
Beatles song?
Oh, no. There's a good way to answer that question. You should ask, what's your current favorite
Oh,
Beatles
yeah.
song?
Well-
See, that's the way, because that's a better answer. Because sometimes you try to think of, is it the best Beatles song? What if it's your current favorite Beatles
Yeah,
song?
favorite is different than best, I think.
Right,
you know?
okay, that's right. The other thing with that question, you ever notice people say, if you could take one album on a
Desert Island.
Desert Island. But how could it be a desert if it's an island? There's
Well-
water around a desert. Shouldn't it be a deserted island?
Yeah, and how could you play
Just
it?
wondering about that, because that's another one that always
Technicality.
comes.
And how could you play it, right?
It always pops into my mind. They have shows called Desert Island Discs, and you're like discs, and you're like, but wait, isn't it surrounded by water? So I guess you can't.
Chris Carter, deep thinker.
I'm a deep thinker. All right, so my current favorite Beatles song is "You Never Give Me Your Money." I love that song. I always did like that song. It just has a lot of parts to it, and it's really good. sounding. It's produced well, and Paul changes his voice. I always thought when I was little it was John in the middle, out of college money spent, because it didn't sound like Paul, but it's Paul. So yeah, that's my current favorite.
That's fantastic. Well, Chris Carter, I want to thank you so much for letting us
Thank you
be
for having
behind the
me.
scenes here in
Thank
the
you.
Museum
Thank you
of
for
Beatles
coming
and
out.
other. It's been a pleasure, and I hope we get to work together again in some capacity,
Absolutely.
some musical capacity.
Nice to know you.
It's been really wonderful. And this is Lori Reamer here, signing off for Rock Cellar TV.